Most machine needles have a flat area on the top, and generally the flat goes to the back, but do check your user's manual to see where it should be. Insert it as far up as you can in the needle holder and tighten. Next is to choose thread. Try and use a thread that's the same mixture of composition of the fabric. If you're using a poly cotton fabric, use a polyester covered cotton thread. If you're using silk fabric, use silk thread. Silk thread is beautiful to sew with, it's very soft and ideal for hand stitching. If you're doing buttonholes, you can use heavy buttonholing thread. Always try and get a colour match as close as possible to your fabric. If it's not possible to get a perfect match, go a shade darker, because when unravelled it will actually match perfectly. Now it's time to wind the bobbin. The sewing machine user manual will explain how. But do remember that if the needle does not disengage when you're winding a bobbin, it's a good idea to disengage it, which is usually by the flywheel at the side. Try and use bobbins supplied with your machine, as unfortunately they don't necessarily all work on each other's machines. On today's modern machines, the bobbin will wind by itself, and when it's full it will stop. For this example I'm going to stop here, as I don't need a full bobbin. Now we thread the machine. Make sure you put a reel retainer on the end of the reel, and this stops the reel bouncing up and down on the spool, which can cause skip stitches. Follow the threading guide. Each machine may be slightly different, but the general rule of thumb is the same. And then thread the needle. I'm now going to change the foot because we're going to do straight stitching. These are snap-on feet, which are a real boon as they're very easy to fit. Now I'm going to select the stitch, and for this instance we want straight stitching, and I'm going to check the stitch length. Here it's set at 220, which is the machine standard, but if I want to increase it slightly because the fabric is a medium weight, I can do so just by pressing the plus button. Equally, I could make it smaller. If it were a zigzag stitch, I could make the zigzags wider or narrower. Press OK and we're ready to sew. I'm using a machine with an LCD display. Other machines will have dials to turn, and we'll show those later.